looks really good. This is restaurant quality. This may be the best thing I have ever made. Hello, my name is Rachel, and when it comes to cooking for myself, I can be pretty lazy. So this might come as a surprise to some people because I cook a lot for my job and I love making elaborate dishes for other people. But when it comes to cooking for myself and I'm not trying to impress anyone, it's really easy for me to just toss some baked potatoes in the microwave, heat up a vegan burger and some kale, and call it a day. I also love watching cooking videos, but I usually never end up making the recipes. So this week, I'm gonna challenge myself to make a restaurant quality vegan dinner every night of the work week. And this can't just be like an average meal. It has to be good. I'm also really gonna try to follow recipes this week because I'm really just the queen of winging things. I think this is gonna take a lot of time, but let's do it. Okay, so it's Sunday afternoon and I just went grocery shopping. So I'm gonna wash all of my produce first ahead of time. And I'm also going to prep some of the ingredients I'm going to use multiple times throughout the week, like garlic and ginger. I feel like half the battle for me when it comes to cooking is just the idea of having to wash produce. So I think doing this now before the week starts is going to set me up for success. Okay, everything is washed. Some things are prepped as well. And that took me about 30 or 40 minutes. I know it's gonna save me a lot of time over the next week, so definitely worth it. So I'm feeling pretty good about going into this week. It's the first night of this challenge. I'm feeling pretty good. I feel like I've got some momentum going for the beginning of the week. I'm gonna make Alison Roman's creamy farro with crispy mushrooms, and it looks absolutely incredible, but it also looks like it has a lot of work to it. I'm just going to tear my mushrooms into bite-sized pieces. I have oyster mushrooms here, and I also have some cremini mushrooms. She also suggested maitake or chanterelle, but I just had these two at my supermarket, so I decided to stick with these. And now I just have to cut up some chives and some dill, and that's gonna be garnished for later. And that's pretty much all of the chopping that I have to do because my leeks are already cut up. Now I'm gonna add in my olive oil, and because these are restaurant quality meals, I'm gonna use a restaurant quality amount of olive oil. That's how restaurant food tastes so good, you know? So now I'm gonna add in my leeks, and I've got my mushrooms. So she says this can take about 12 to 15 minutes because you want them to be very frizzled and crispy. Also, I can't forget to season with salt and pepper. Okay, I never cook with leeks, and this smells so good. Look at all that brown on the bottom. That's the good stuff, man. Okay, I'm starting to see some frizzled bits now. And we've got lots of like yummy little brown bits on the bottom of the pan here. So I'm gonna add in my farro, which is a grain that I really like, but I never cook with because why would I cook things that I like to eat? And we're just gonna let this get a little bit toasty. I'm just gonna add in some of this water, and I also got some of this no chicken flavored bouillon. So I'm gonna add a little bit of this in here as well. I'm gonna bring this to a boil and then reduce it down to a simmer. And then I'm gonna let this cook for about 20 to 25 minutes until it's tender, but you still want a little bit of liquid in there, so it's kind of like a risotto texture. So this is almost done cooking. So now I'm just gonna add in my chives, and then we're ready to plate this up. Hot damn, that's really good. First of all, the grain is just cooked so perfectly. It's so tender and flavorful. The mushrooms, I mean, maybe it's like the half a pound of oil that I added, but they're so insanely good. The texture is so crispy. Also the vegan sour cream on this, the herbs. I never get garnishes like this, so it really makes such a huge difference. This is a very great way to start off this week. It is Tuesday afternoon. Do I feel like cooking? Not really, but we're gonna make some brothy beans. It's a recipe by Lindsay Eats. In her version, she uses Parmesan, and I'm going to use vegan Parmesan. So easy swapperoo. And I only have a couple of things here that I have to prep. All I have to do is quarter this onion, cut up this lemon, and have this garlic head. And I washed these ahead of time and they said to leave the skins on, so even less work. Some of you might be saying, this isn't what I would consider a restaurant quality dinner. But brothy beans just sound very luxurious to me. I don't know why, but I want them. And also I very rarely cook beans from scratch, so I think that adds to the quality level of this as well. So the first thing I'm gonna do is add a healthy amount of olive oil into this pan. And then I'm gonna add in my onions, my garlic, and lemons. And it says I just wanna let this caramelize for about 12 minutes. So I think this is what's really gonna build up a lot of the flavor. I also love finding recipes like this and the Farro from yesterday because they're not vegan, but they can easily be adapted to be made vegan. Ooh, we get some nice color on here now. Give these all a flip over. Okay, now I'm going to add in some fresh rosemary and some fresh oregano. And I never cook with fresh herbs, really, so this feels fancy. And then we also want to add some chili flakes and a good amount of salt and pepper. And then I'm just gonna mix this all together. So I did not soak my beans like it said to, but I've read on the internet that it really doesn't take that much longer. I'm just letting these simmer away all afternoon anyway. And then I'm also going to add in 6 cups of water. And in her recipe, it said with the pre-soaked beans that they take about an hour and a half to cook. So I'm gonna see how long it takes. So I'm just gonna bring this to a boil now and then reduce it to a simmer. And I'm gonna check on it every 30 minutes to see how tender my beans are. It's been about 3 hours. Probably took about twice as long as it would have taken if I'd soaked the beans. But you know what, here we are. Our beans are looking nice and tender and this is really cooked down nicely. Now I'm gonna add in a couple handfuls of kale just to get a little bit of greens in here. And I'm just gonna let those wilt down a little bit. And it's time to eat. It's so flavorful. You can taste the fresh herbs in it. The beans are really tender and creamy. I left the garlic and the onion in here and it just really cooked down and caramelized so nicely. So there's so much flavor in this. Also, it didn't really take that much hands-on time. It's something you can do while you're working from home. Yeah. That's the move. I will say it's a little more lemony than I would like. If I were to do this again, I'd probably cut the lemon maybe in half, but this is really good. We've made it to Wednesday. I don't really want to cook tonight. But it's okay, this recipe isn't too involved and we've already got some of the prep done. This is a recipe by Young Man Cooking. It is his garlic chili noodle recipe. So instead of using the noodles he does, I'm actually gonna use udon noodles. And I'm also gonna add some broccoli because why not? I've got some water boiling on the stove for my udon noodles. So all I really have to do for prep is chop up my broccoli and 3 scallions. So I'm gonna cook this in my brand new Goodful all-in-one pan, which is absolutely gorgeous. And if you want one for yourself, you can get it at the link in the description down below. So now I'm gonna add a little bit of avocado oil, and then I'm just gonna take some tofu and I'm gonna crumble it into the pan, just like you would with a tofu scramble. And I'm just gonna let this brown up for a few minutes. And now I'm just gonna add in a little bit of soy sauce. Okay, we're off-roading it a little bit here, but I'm gonna add some garlic powder as well. Great, this looks fantastic. So now I'm just going to set my tofu aside, and to the same pan, add in some of my broccoli, a little bit more oil, and some water. And I'm gonna cover this and let it steam for a little bit. Okay, and while this is steaming, my water has actually started to boil, so I'm going to add in my frozen udon noodles. And you really just let them sit for about a minute to thaw. Now I'm just gonna rinse them in some cool water. Okay, let's check on our broccoli. It looks good. I'm just gonna add a little bit of soy sauce and a little bit of garlic powder, because we like to season as we go. Okay, this is perfect. I'm just gonna set this aside as well. All right, to get started on our sauce, I'm gonna add some avocado oil, some of our garlic, and a little bit of ginger. And I'm gonna start cooking this up. So now I'm gonna add some of the gochugaru, the red pepper powder. I'm a little nervous, but he says it's not too spicy. See, this is exactly the kind of spice that I would never cook with on a regular basis, just because I'm so boring. All right, and now I'm going to add in 1 tablespoon of this vegan oyster sauce. Yum! I've never used this either. All right, now I'm ready to add my noodles back in, some more soy sauce, and my broccoli and tofu. Give this a little mixy mix. Oh my God. This looks really good. It says to turn the heat up to medium and then to like let this saute for a little bit. And now we just have to add in some green onion and let that cook for 1 more minute. Okay, let's eat. Okay, here we go. Oh, that's a little spicy. This is incredible, and it really didn't take that much time. I mean, I love thick noodles. Now I have the red pepper powder and the oyster sauce. The udon noodles were frozen. This is like super convenient and easy. So much better than anything I've been making for myself on weeknights. It really shows that just taking a few extra steps can go such a long way. I would give anything right now to just toss a vegan chicken patty in the microwave and call it a day, but I can't do that. I'm gonna make oyster mushroom steaks with chimichurri sauce and smashed potatoes. This crispy smashed potato recipe is from Cookie and Kate. So we're gonna start off by taking some smallish potatoes. I'm just gonna add them to my Dutch oven here, cover them with water, add about 1 tablespoon of salt, and then bring it to a boil. Now I'm gonna get started on a chimichurri sauce that I saw from Bon Appetit. Thank God my herbs are all washed. I'm gonna add a shallot to my food processor here. I think I'm gonna start with 1/2 of a jalapeno and just see how that goes. And I'm just gonna give these garlic cloves a very rough chop and toss them in. 1/2 cup of red wine vinegar, teaspoon of kosher salt, 1/2 cup of cilantro, 1/4 cup of parsley, 2 tablespoons of fresh oregano, 3/4 a cup of olive oil, which seems like a lot. I'm gonna be honest, this recipe called for way too much red wine vinegar, and I don't think chimichurri should be like a vinaigrette, but you know what? I think it will do. So I drained and let my potatoes cool. Now I'm just gonna add them to my baking sheet, and I'm just gonna smash my potatoes down. Oh no, I think I smashed it too hard. You know what? It's fine. They're gonna be rustic potatoes. There we go. Now I'm gonna top them with some olive oil, garlic powder, onion powder, some black pepper, and we're gonna do some salt. Now I'm gonna bake them at 425 for about 25 to 30 minutes until they are golden. So I have a really hot cast iron pan here, and I'm gonna add some oil to the pan. So I'm using a method I saw from Wicked Kitchen. I'm gonna put my oyster mushroom down like that, and I'm just gonna let that hang out for a second here to kind of sear a little bit. Now I'm gonna take my other pan and place this gently on top of my oyster mushroom, and then I'm gonna press down on it. I'm supposed to also wipe all of the liquid that comes off of the pan. Let's give it a flip, eh? Oh, look at that color. Press down. Now I'm gonna season it. A little bit of garlic powder, some onion powder, salt, and some cracked black pepper. Flip this guy over. Now I'm gonna season this side. I mean, I think we might be done. Holy, they're There's like a crust on the oyster mushroom that is so good. The texture is insane. It's just really meaty and tender and delicious, and it's chewy and fatty like a steak. And the chimichurri sauce just like gives it that pop of color, and it makes it feel really gourmet. Yeah, I've been sleeping on smashed potatoes. Wow, this dish, do it, make it. I could see some restaurant in LA charging like $22 for this plate of food. And you can make this at home, and it's really not that difficult to do. All right, see you tomorrow. We made it to the last day. I decided I'm gonna go out with a bang, and I'm gonna make a vegan chicken tikka masala. And this recipe is inspired by the tofu tikka masala that Rainbow Plant Life created. It is definitely involved. I'm gonna be cutting down a little bit of the time by substituting some daring chicken for the tofu. So let's start off by toasting the spices. Some cumin seeds, coriander seeds, 6 cloves. I like how precise this is. About 30 black peppercorns, 6 green cardamom pods, 2 cinnamon sticks, and some fenugreek leaves. So now I'm just supposed to toast them for a few minutes until they become fragrant and kind of browned. So now I'm going to transfer them into my little spice grinder. This smells so good. Now I'm gonna transfer this into my bowl here. And now we wanna add some ground spices. Some Indian red chili powder, ground turmeric, paprika, ground ginger, and I'm gonna do a half a teaspoon of some freshly grated nutmeg. And I'm gonna mix that up. And now I'm gonna add in my non-dairy yogurt. I'm using Kite Hill plain unsweetened yogurt. We're gonna do about 3 cloves of garlic, about a half an inch a piece of ginger, some lemon juice, some avocado oil, and 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Gonna mix this up. And now I'm gonna add in my daring chicken, and I'm gonna mix it up. Just want it to be really fully coated. Okay, now it says to let this marinate for 2 to 8 hours. So I'm gonna let it hang out in the fridge and we'll come back to it. All right, it's been a couple hours. So now I'm just gonna lightly grease my cast iron. You can use any baking vessel. I'm gonna leave any excess marinade back in the bowl. And the bake time on this is pretty similar to what it would have been for the tofu. So I'm hoping that it's just an easy swap. I'm gonna stick this in the oven and then get started on the masala. I still have a few more things I need to chop up. So I'm just gonna cut up some tomatoes, dice the serrano pepper, and then chop up some cilantro and some of these cilantro stems that she puts in as well. I'm gonna add in some avocado oil to the pan and 1 tablespoon of cumin seeds. And then we just wanna let these toast for a minute. And I have 6 dried chilies here. I never cook with things like dried chilies, so this is very exciting. And now I'm gonna add in my diced red onion. This is smelling good. Now I'm gonna add in my garlic, my ginger, the serrano pepper. I took the seeds out because I didn't want it to be too spicy, and some turmeric. This looks so pretty. 1 teaspoon of this red chili powder, ground coriander. Now I'm gonna add in my tomatoes with their juices. It says I wanna cook these for 2 to 3 minutes until they're broken down and softened. Now I'm gonna add in my cilantro stems, about 3 tablespoons of water, and 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Now it just says to cover the pan and let this simmer for about 15 minutes. So now we have to remove the dried chilies. I'm adding in 1 can of full-fat coconut milk, some garam masala, and a little nubbin of vegan butter. I'm also going to do about 2 tablespoons of the fenugreek leaves. It says to crush them in your hands first. This looks so heavenly. So I have my finished vegan chicken here that I'm gonna add now. My lemon juice. Okay, now it's time to serve. It's the moment of truth. Holy I'm like speechless. I don't even know what to say. Rainbow Plant Life, you know what you're doing. This is absolutely incredible. It's creamy, it's a little bit spicy, it's tangy. There's just so many flavors going on. I feel like this dish right here is why I did this challenge. Absolutely worth every minute of time it took to make this. What a great way to end this week. What a week. So I don't know if I would have been able to make it through this challenge if I hadn't washed and prepped some of my produce on Sunday, because that ended up being a lifesaver and saving me so much time. It also made getting started every night less daunting because I didn't have so much to do. As far as the meals, I would have to rate the chicken tikka masala as #1 because I can't remember the last time I've had something that good. I probably won't be making that on a regular basis, but definitely for special occasions. But the udon noodles and the brothy beans were definitely two dishes I could see myself making on a weekly basis because they didn't require too much hands-on time and they both came out incredibly delicious. Overall, I'm really glad I did this challenge because it got me out of my cooking rut, and I think that cooking is a form of self-care, so it was worth it to spend some extra time on myself. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope I inspired you to make yourself some good food this week, because you deserve it. Also, please comment down below and share your favorite restaurant quality vegan dishes. We did it, we did it, we made some brothy beans. We did it, we did it, we ate the brothy beans.